Hey guys, welcome back to the Avahi channel. I'm Kris from Avahi Design, and today I'm going to be showing you how to optimize your images for your WordPress website. We're going to be using Photoshop. Let's go ahead and hop in. Okay guys, so I downloaded this images off of Unsplash. I love Unsplash because they allow you to use all of their photos for free, commercially or personally, and you don't have to worry about any sort of licensing. It's all built in. So this one I downloaded. I'll go ahead and throw the link down in the description so that you can follow along. Okay, so once we open the image in Photoshop, let's go ahead and look at the image size. So that's going to be under image size. And you'll see that for this image, the width is 4,000 pixels wide and 3,000 pixels high, which is way too big. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and click the link right here to constrain the heights together. And then we're going to put in 1920 for the width. So depending on the size of what you're doing, I usually use 1920 as my general banner size. If this is going to be like a product image, then I would put, 600. Generally, when I do product images, I also crop them down into a square. For this tutorial, I'm not going to do any cropping because that'll just depend on where you plan on using the image. But so right here, let's say it's a banner image. Let's say it's a really big banner image. We're going to go ahead and put that width in as 1920, and we're going to keep that height at 1440. If you wanted to, you could go ahead and crop it down. Another big thing to look at is resolution, 72 pixels per inch. Whenever you're working with the pixels anyway, you shouldn't have any issues with that resolution, but you want to make sure that your resolution is always 72 pixels per inch. So right there, it's already quite a bit smaller. It's about a quarter of the size that it was. After you set the image size, that's where you would start cropping. Like I said earlier, I'm not going to show you how to crop because the way that you crop would be dependent on the size of the image that you are using, where you're going to be using this image. But just for reference for this, I would have usually cropped it down to say 400 pixels high. I would have kept that 1920 width, but then it would have only been 400 or 500 pixels high. And like I said, for product photos or blog thumbnails, I usually do 600 by 600 or something along those lines, maybe 960 by 640, something around there for smaller images. But for this tutorial, we're just going to leave the crop that way, and now we're going to work on exporting. So there's a couple different ways to export. The first way I'm going to show you is using File, Export, Save for Web. So the reason why we use the legacy style is because whenever you go to the JPEG setting, they have this option for progressive. So what a progressive JPEG does is whenever it's loading on your website, it doesn't load the entire image right away. It's going to show up kind of blurry, and then once it's fully downloaded, it'll pop up. So that helps a lot with your speed scores. And if you use anything like web page test, they're definitely going to want you to have a progressive JPEG. On top of it being progressive, you'll notice that you can choose the compression quality. A lot of times it's automatically going to be set for maximum, but you really don't need to allow that much quality. Usually very high, which is 80, or high is going to be plenty. So for this, we're going to go ahead and do high, and you're not going to be able to notice any difference really with the quality whenever it's full size. So that's the original image, that's the optimized image. As you can see, you can't really see anything with your eye. But the size difference, we're going from 7.9 megabytes to 970 kilobytes. So now that we have set the progressive and the quality, we'll go ahead and press save, and we would choose the spot where we want to put this. So we'll just put optimized image 1, and there we go. We have successfully compressed an image. So let's say we have two images now that we need to compress. I'm going to show you a shortcut on how to compress them quicker. So the first thing is you're going to pull in the images as separate layers, and you will see that I have renamed them. So I've got sand and trees. If you're doing this on a project, you want to make sure you're using verbose names that will help you with SEO. Just like before, we're going to look at the image size, 1920 by 1440. I've already done that, so that's going to be fine. And then we're going to go ahead and command click or shift click both layers so that we can select all of them. And then we're going to right click and click export as. Okay, so that's going to pull up the export as dialog, and we're going to choose JPEG as the format again. And right here we can change the quality, so we can do it like 60% is what we did the last one at, so we're going to go ahead and do that here too. And you aren't necessarily going to be able to just choose a quality and always stick with it. Sometimes 60% works. Sometimes you have finer details and you're going to need maybe 80% quality. But for this, 60% will work fine. You'll notice though that on this export as dialog, we don't have the option to choose progressive. So let's go ahead and hit export, and then I'll show you how I change all of these JPEGs to progressive JPEGs. Okay, so after we have exported the images, we can look in our folder and see that they have exported at 1 megabyte and 775 kilobytes. So we're already 1/7 of the size. However, these still aren't progressive JPEGs. So they're not going to load at all until they fully are downloaded to your website. So that's going to hurt your page speed score. So we're going to take both of these and we're going to open up jpeg.io. So now that we've opened jpeg.io, you can use any image format and it will convert it into a JPEG that is progressive, and they optimize it for you. In this case, we already have JPEGs, so we just want to make them progressive. We're going to select our images and then drag and drop it into the little box, and they will process them for us. So now we can see that we dropped about 100 kilobytes on both images, 150, and then we're going to download them into a zip archive. So now we've been able to optimize 2 images at once, and this was much faster than going through each one, opening them up separately and trying to do it for each image. So this will be especially helpful if you're doing product images where you need to optimize, say, 20 images at the same time. So that right there is how you optimize your images using Photoshop. So I showed you how to compress and optimize just a regular photo, and then also how to quickly optimize multiple photos at a time. There's one last thing that you can do to help make your images a little bit faster. And if you've watched some of my older videos, I've mentioned it before. There's a plugin on WordPress called Smush. So you would download this to your website, and you are able to upload all of your images, and it will automatically optimize all of your images on the website. So I like to do this after I've already optimized them in Photoshop, because you're going to get a much better score. With the Smush plugin, you can also set up lazy loading so that your site will load even faster. Hopefully you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, go ahead and like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week.